Welcome. This is the NDTV-Dettol Banega Swachh India campaign. Over the last so many years, we've tried to do whatever we can to make India a cleaner place. We've spoken about the need for building toilets. We've spoken about the need to spread awareness. We've tried to figure out ways of changing behavior of people, encouraging them to adopt hygiene. And we've spoken about Mere 10 Gaz, which means try and clean up the area just around you. And then we also started to talk about the fact that Mere 10 Gaz is not just on the ground, it also includes the air that we breathe. And air pollution, perhaps one of the biggest problems and the biggest crises that we are facing, especially in northern India. And therefore, over the course of the next half an hour, we want to spend a certain amount of time looking at that particular problem. It is going to be a focus this year in the Banega Swachh India campaign, air pollution and what can we do to crack it once and for all. What we're going to try and do over the next half hour, we've got some of the top experts in the field right out here. And we're going to try and get them to agree by the time the next half an hour is over, agree a 6-point agenda of action. Something that we can track over the next few months. Look, the monsoons are out, it's August, it's lovely, there's no air pollution. We think the problem is over. But to use Game of Thrones terminology, winter is coming, and when winter comes, the pollution will return. So we need to do something about it. We need to do something about it now. Many of us know that. We need to do something about it. What should we do? That's what we're going to try and ask everyone over the next half hour. Thank you all so much for being with us. Mr. Prashant Gaggar is, of course, the Member Secretary, Central Pollution Control Board, the man who's really driving a lot of this. And I'm going to be also asking you some of the steps that we've already taken. Anumita Roy Chaudhary is Executive Director of the Center for Science and Environment, CSE, has been coming out with agendas. You've got some thoughts, we'll get them from you. Jayadhar Gupta is the CEO of Nirvana, we really need to understand why this affects health. And Dr. Pramod Jog can also talk to us a little bit about it, who's on the standing committee with a member of the International Pediatric Associations. He knows what happens and can help us understand why air pollution is so bad. Ashutosh Dikshit is the CEO of the United Residents Joint Action. So residents, what can they do? A lot has to be done by the government, but maybe all of us as residents can also do something. Before I actually start off, I think it's best to ask you, Prashantji, what are the steps the government has already taken? And are you hopeful that by the time November comes and we are again getting that sinking feeling that the airs are going to go dark all across northern India, it will be better this year?
Let me begin with what the program says, Swachh Banega India. And this winter, I'm more than confident that things would be better. Let's try and understand how this is going to be better. If you look at what has been contributing to Delhi air quality or to the larger Indo-Gangetic plains, there are 3 levels. One is the regional contribution that you get in terms of dust storm beyond our boundaries that occasionally affects us. Then you have regional scale including stubble crop residue burning that happens during October-November period. And third with the local sources, maybe city or the local sources. In terms of actions also, what government or CPCB has been doing or what actions are required will again be at different levels. At national levels, you set policies, BS4, BS6, setting standards for boilers or power plant standards revision. These are the steps which are long-term impact steps which will show dividend in near future. Now, third action is at the ground, at the local level, enforcement related issues. So, these are the broad framework of the actions.
I actually want to get into each of those in some detail. So, I'm just going to hold that thought for a minute. I think you're and I want to come to that, the specific things in each of those cases. But I think you've set it up. So, I want to get everyone's views on this before we come to the specific steps already taken and that still need to be taken. You very correctly said, number one, the things which are beyond our border. So, like the dust storm which just came from Arabia, that's beyond our border, number one. Number two is across the entire region, which is like crop burning. And number three are individual city-specific items. I just want to get everyone to weigh in on that. And first, let's understand the problem, then we'll start finding the solutions. When we're looking at the problem, in addition to what he was saying, that's where the air pollution is coming from. If I can ask you, अगर कोई इस कार्यक्रम को देख रहा है, होता क्या है अगर air pollution हो?
Actually, the problem of air pollution starts affecting the pregnant mother, and whenever she is in a polluted atmosphere, many times these pollutants from her blood, they go to the baby which is inside, and that starts affecting the baby which is unborn. जो भी
and then of course जब बच्चा है या बड़े हैं उनको भी वही असर पड़ता होगा.
Right.
आपके पास वो मॉडल्स भी थे जो आप दिखा रहे थे.
I will just show you some models. Actually, these pollutants usually have the impact on the respiratory tree, जिसे हम wind pipe या श्वास नलिका बोलते हैं. This is the wind pipe which has a normal inner diameter. अंदर का जो diameter है वो बिल्कुल normal है. Whenever there is air pollution, at that time it starts becoming narrow and inflamed. Inflammation is showed in the red color, and with further air pollution effect on the windpipe, there will be constriction, narrowness. ये सिकुड़ जाती है श्वास नलिका जो है, and then the child will also have some secretions inside and will have breathing difficulty.
Every time we start discussing air pollution, I start to cough just in sympathy. You know,
Right, sir. So these are long-term effects, and whenever the baby in the first few years gets these problems, this becomes
and then
long-term.
it continues all the way through
almost till
adulthood.
40, 50, 60 years. And girls, जो लड़कियां हैं, they are particularly exposed to the indoor pollution as well as in the house. And if the husband unfortunately is a passive smoker, the problems worsen. So it becomes worse in the girl children.
So 10 lakh people are dying because of air pollution. It's not a small number. 10 lakh people, a million people dying of air pollution. If that was happening in road accidents, if that was happening in airplane crashes, or anything else that you care to mention, it would be the banner front page headline. It started to get media attention, but we still need to, I think, spread the message.
I think, it's become amply clear to me over the last 3.5 years that I've been an activist in this space is that any action has to be citizen-led. And for it to be citizen-led, because, we are very good with regulation. We have GRAP, we have the NCAP, we have emission standards on industries. We have all those things in place. But where we lack is enforcement. And the enforcement needs to come from the citizens. And I think citizens are only going to step up to the plate once they understand the correlation between air pollution and health impacts of air pollution. Today, the common man is checked out of this problem. And mind you, I want to state here that,
Are they checked out? I thought now air pollution is something that people have started to talk about. I mean, the campaigns that have been done the last few years have started to make an impact. If you look at the papers, you open it, air pollution numbers are there, TV scenes, the thing, air pollution.
There are lots of myths.
थोड़ी चर्चा होने लगी है.
There are lots of myths. I mean, people think, I'm Indian, I'm immune. Rest of India thinks air pollution is a Delhi problem. People think that air pollution is just a November problem. I mean, we failed to meet WHO safe standards for even a single day in a year in Delhi and for most parts of our country. So, there are lots of myths on air pollution that we need to bust. But I think it's the medical community that needs to step out and, help me, make that connection on how this impacts me.
Okay. Point well taken. When it comes to residents, is this something you think individuals have started to take a lot more interest in? Residents associations are saying, look, it's all the other problems that we are facing. Having air to breathe is probably the most important.
No, residents are aware of this. The resident welfare associations are aware of this. Awareness is not that much of a problem. There is, you can keep on getting more and more aware. But eventually people have a lot of problems to deal with, air pollution being one of them. And they focus on solving that problem when they notice there is a degree of government intent in fixing it.
Okay.
Now, the administrative intent from the government, when it's weak, the resident then starts focusing on other things because this becomes very difficult to handle. Too much awareness campaign, too much talk of awareness is actually subverting the action on the ground. People are just busy discussing things. So we need to be more granular about the actions in this matter rather than awareness.
I'm so glad you said that because that brings us to the rest of this program now. So, okay, we know why it hurts us. We know what the problems are. Awareness is fine. Now, what are we doing about it? So, I want to come back to you, sir. If you can tell us, what is it that the government has already done on each of those three parameters? Large scale, nationwide, individual. And then we'll see what else needs to be done. Make it as granular as was just being suggested.
As I said about the early warning system, now when you go to the regional crop residue burning, I mean, everyone is aware what actions have been taken, that 800 crore package, for Haryana, Punjab, and then this time in situ, measures to minimize and avoid crop burning. So that's on regional scale.
Crop burning will be regional, but अगर जो आप सबसे पहली चीज आप कह रहे थे कि जो इंटरनेशनल है, अगर अरेबिया से धूल यहाँ आ रही है तो उसका हम क्या कर सकते हैं?
नहीं, उसका हम ये कर सकते हैं कि पहले तो हम जैसे हमें एडवांस इन्फॉर्मेशन मिलता है, so you can alert people. Because this is something which is going to happen. And during those period, जो आप अपना ग्राउंड लेवल में आप अपना और इन्फोर्समेंट कर सकते हैं, अपना जितना कंट्रीब्यूशन आप मिनिमाइज कर सकते हैं, एटलीस्ट वी कैन ट्राई एंड डू दैट.
Okay.
So that's what will help in once we get this early warnings, alerts. Now coming to crop residue burning, I said there are set actions now, and hopefully this will show some results during this winter. Now when we come to the local, let me give you actions on two parts. One is for Delhi NCR, and then as you are rightly saying, it's not just Delhi NCR problem, what is happening elsewhere. So on two accounts, what we have been doing. In addition to the central actions which I already briefed about policy or standard setting, local actions for Delhi this winter, what we are going to do. Problem is vehicles, open burning, construction and demolition, and road dust, and then again on larger scale sulfur dioxide emission from coal burning.
Anamita, let me get you in now. So we've heard what has already been done. You've of course been also advising on many of the stuff this year and last year. Now taking this forward, what more can be done on each of those fronts? Because, for example, now if it's coming in, if dust is coming in, there's not much we can do other than, you can't even fence off the border against dust coming.
So we need to know the target. Second, we need a compliance strategy and need to know what we must do in different sectors that are responsible for pollution. So now to listing that.
Yeah.
So therefore, if you look at the power plant, a very important source of pollution, government has already come up with very tighter emission standards. We need its early implementation and no further delay.
Okay, tighten emission on power plants,
right.
That's one.
Industrial sector, we have to get rid of the dirtiest stream of fuel like petcoke and furnace oil. We know there are Supreme Court orders today and which has asked for ban on these fuels in 4 states in northern India, but we also need emission standards to ensure that it happens.
Okay.
Third, in the vehicles, we need, of course, we should be on track to meet the BS6 emission standards, but simultaneously control dieselization and do massive scaling up of public transport system, along with last mile connectivity focused on pedestrianization and so forth.
Crop residue burning, which as he said is one of the larger areas. If you saw the pictures last year when it was particularly bad, there was a plume coming down from not just from Punjab and Haryana, but from Pakistan actually, and it was extending all the way down the Indo-Gangetic plain. To get that plume under control, when last year on the Banega Swachh India campaign, we were asking Captain Amarinder Singh and others, he said the central government needs to sanction money so that we can get things into operation. That money was sanctioned in the budget.
Right.
So this year, can we expect crop burning to be better than it was last year? And I'm going to throw it to both of you, sir. Better this year?
Hopeful. This has to be better this year.
Hopeful or
No,
is
this
confident?
will be better.
You think so? Punjab and Haryana and others have said they will cooperate.
Yes.
Your level of confidence?
So the scale of action we still don't know, because that's where the real problem is.
And we better get people out there from now. It's August,
Exactly.
so right now we should be saying
Yes.
what are we going to do, because now's when it's going to start in a month or so 2 months, so we better be clear on how to do it. What would you add to this list? Let's just put a comprehensive list and we'll try and identify which are the most important.
Yeah, I mean, firstly calling this a public health emergency and driving accountability. What I still don't understand is who's going to make these targets happen? What is the specific target and who's accountable for making it happen? Because MOEF has clearly created this NCAP and they're driving the implementation through the state pollution control boards, which is, let's be honest, it's not going to happen. I mean, it's like a wish and a promise. So, I think we need to have like a measurable accountability plan that lists, what are the time-bound targets, who's, time-bound targets, let's say 3 years, 35%. I mean, let's be honest, we're not China. Our government does not exercise its coercive powers. And that is a statement that came out of you, Ashutosh, that has stuck with me. We just don't have the form of government. Coming to crop burning, I know that we have met with certain farmers who are just talking about this paddy burning thing and saying it's not realistic. I mean, again, we have vote bank politics in our country, quite obviously.
And elections coming
And elections coming up. Who's going to want to touch a vote bank? I mean, I wish I was more positive and aligned here. But
a lot of people feel, and we've got this feedback when you're doing the program, let's assume you've got awareness. Now, I'm aware that living in Delhi is really bad for my health, and others, there are 180 million people living in Uttar Pradesh who are probably also by now increasingly aware that the air they're breathing is bad for them. What does a citizen do after that? Other than having those who can afford it will put air purifiers, what will the others do?
Actually, if in case everyone becomes aware, it will become a mass movement, because none of the movements have succeeded unless people pressurize the government to do something. And I personally feel that as a pediatrician, if we tell that this asthma is because of pollution, this pneumonia has been aggravated by pollution, this is because of this, that the child has to be admitted and the expenditure has been there. So with this there will be a awareness. And I was just talking about a small short form, like it is on NDTV only. N stands for N95 mask, which is nasal protection. D stands for caring for dust and diesel, which we always speak about, carpooling and using public transport. T stands for planting trees, and V stands for voting for only those leaders who are the advocates of healthy environment. And ultimately, together,
that is such a good action plan. That's an excellent action plan. Can we try and patent that somewhere? Or we'll give you the patent rights.
Together, that NDTV will be for health awareness and awareness, so that you can use it.
I know the Prime Minister loves acronyms. We will send that particular one on to him, that use NDTV. And try and find a way of getting that to work. Okay, interesting idea. The last thing which you said about voting, now actually it stuck in my mind a little bit, because actually if you have elections are coming, there are 73. There's look at the number of seats you have just in Uttar Pradesh, right? In UP or 75. Look at Haryana, Punjab, all the states that are affected by pollution. A lot of seats come in. If actually you got people exercise enough to say we're going to vote on the basis of the fact that can we breathe or not breathe, we'd probably get a solution faster than we would otherwise.
But that's not.
I mean, the mission mode would accelerate.
That's not going to happen.
People don't care enough.
No, they care enough. But Indian politics is more about identity. It's not about this. So trying to take it there would be, it's a possibility, but very quickly that can be derailed. They can start talking about reservation ka ya koi caste ka issue aa jayega. Ye baat idhar ho jayegi.
I think we've got some really good ideas already so far on this, and we should work on all of them. If each of you could make one suggestion, just one suggestion, that you think we can put into practice now, in the next 2 months, that will make a difference by the time air pollution starts to spike this winter, what would that one suggestion be?
To have the municipal corporation be accountable and engage with citizens groups on the ground and enforce the law. Please enforce the fines. अगर कहीं burning होती है, आप fine करिए वहाँ पे.
The indoor air pollution has to be controlled. As you were rightly saying that Delhi is not the only city. It has been found by statistics that the smaller cities are getting affected and the chronic diseases are increasing there. So people should be made aware.
Okay, one suggestion.
Big one is no SARS, no vote. I'd still like to, as an activist, try to make this an election issue, because that's the only way things happen.
That was the V which he had suggested, make it into an election issue and see where we get to. Who knows, it might work. I mean, personally, I'm up, sign me up. Anybody who gives me an actual action plan for how they're going to solve the problem of air pollution, single one issue, I will vote.
I need a report card from today onwards and all through the winter, where we stand on all the plans, especially the comprehensive action plan, graded response action plan, which have been notified already under the most powerful act in the country, Environment Protection Act, which is already legally binding. And I want a report card on progress that we are making.
Sir, one suggestion which you think is going to make a difference.
In addition to long-term measures for handling this winter, it's monitoring of actions and then more and more public participation.
All right, so a number of really interesting suggestions coming up out there. We're going to just list them for you right now. You can see it on the side of the screen. Here are just some of the ideas that have come out from this. Many of them are steps that are already started to be taken. The government's pushing on many of them. The authorities are. I think one overall theme that emerges from this program is that we must have daily accountability. And actually, that would be one appeal that we would also make to chief ministers, to the prime ministers, to everyone else. Start this daily monitoring on all of these items, and start it now, start it in August. Because only if you're monitoring this on a day-by-day basis, will we be reasonably hopeful that the crisis, I don't think we're going to do away with air pollution this year, in 1 year, maybe even 2 years, but at least some of the worst aspects of the crisis can be averted if we start to act now, and if we actually monitor all of these steps that need to be taken. That's it for now. We will join you again later on this, and of course on the Swachh Cleanathon, we will again try and take stock of some of these steps and see how far we have gotten. We'll do our own bit to try and keep monitoring all of these action points. Thanks for watching. Bye.